Yeah.
And you're right. And even though they do talk highly of this woman and they're doing all the necessary steps that you would think that's going to lead to a marriage, men, we still don't just talk about it. Like
Right.
me, I made myself conscious to like open up these discussions with my friends and ask like, so you go marry her? Just see
Mm-hmm.
what they go say. And
Right.
they look at me like, man, nah. But I'm looking like, why not? She do all this. She checked off all your lists. Why you not gonna marry her? And I don't know what's the hang up about. But I guess because the pushback from friends and society and everybody's thinking that like once a man gets married, he's on lockdown. It's over with for him. So I guess and it's hard to give up our player card. It's hard, and because it's a lot of perks that come with that. It's just not all about having woman and woman. It's a lot of perks that come with it. And when you give it up, you basically transform yourself into something, into the unknown, because you don't know how you're going to be as a husband. But you were 33 years single, a player, and now you want to turn into this man that's with one woman, and it's scary for us, and we don't talk about it, but it's like just by being a man, we want to succeed in everything. So that's why when a lot of men don't succeed, you get this angry man now in this backlash. And it's not because the woman did something wrong. It's just because he can't deal with the fact that he failed. So I think when men talk about marriage, that's a big step. And I think women don't look at marriage as like men do. Like marriage is I think women look at it like an accessory. Like this is something I'm gonna get this marriage and I'm gonna look good because I'm married. And I think men look at it like, man, when I get married, it's gonna change my life. So do I really want to do this? You know what I'm saying? Like that, but we don't know if it's gonna change our life for the good or the bad. But it's gonna change your life. It's gonna change your life. And I think more women, because you get to dress up in your white dress, you get you get the parade, you get all of this, you get to look beautiful for that day, and you hear the success stories, you see the big rings, you see the honeymoon, but a lot of people, and it should be, they don't tell you about the horror stories, So I think a lot of women, they use that marriage as an accessory instead of you should be very scared to get married, very
right,
scared.
right.
Not scared, but cautious.
We also have to remember that, women's worth a lot of times in our society is tied to whether or not she's married. So I think that women do naturally see or do just typically see marriage differently too, because, as we get older, people look at you with the side eye if you're not married. If a man is older, some people do look with the side eye, but mostly nobody really looks at an unmarried man, no matter how old he is, as though something must be wrong with his character or his personality or the type of people that he's dated. Nobody thinks that. But for an unmarried woman, you do have a stigma. And it starts from very early on, like everybody is teaching women that they need to find a husband. But it's not very often that you hear it happens. I know it happens, but generally speaking, people are not, communicating to men that, you need to be married. I mean, you see it a little bit and you see it in some circles, but mostly men grow up and they might have their mama who wants them to get married so that they can have some grandbabies, but generally speaking, society doesn't have this idea that a married man is more worthy than an unmarried man.
So Ashley,
so hold on, I want to ask a question. So wouldn't you say that as a result of that, a lot of our behaviors and our interpretation of things and the way we interact with each other is a lot of times predicated upon what the culture is like at that moment? And you just said that that a woman's value a lot of time is basically tied to whether or not she's married. And I agree with you. I criticize that point all the time.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing are those things changing. And that's what I say are the things that are movable and changeable. That's why I say, like, we have these ideas, like all of these fixed beliefs about certain things, like they're just natural. And it's like a lot of them are not
Yeah.
natural. A lot of them are sometimes as humans, like we do it as a response to our environment. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? All whatever
Yeah.
is necessary kind of at that time for certain things. And so I'm agreeing with you. And like I said, Miss Jovo, that I think when you at certain generations, right, that you can kind of apply certain motives to certain things. But I think as we move forward, we are seeing a lot of different conversations about whether or not that makes sense to tie a woman's value to whether or not she is with a, like, things are shifting drastically, you know what I mean, in a very short period of time. And I know I keep like beating this dead horse, but I think that we are severely underestimating how our culture is shifting in a way that we aren't even really able to grasp onto quickly, because this is the first time in human history that shifts have happened this quickly because of technology and things like that. Like, even if you look at things like, and I'm not here to argue about it or against it, but even if you look at things like the Me Too movement, look at such a drastic shift in the attitudes about gender roles and what's normal in the workplace and all that. That stuff changed like that, and that's not typical. So I'm just saying that, yeah, I agree, especially growing up and coming up, and like to Darwin's point that he brought up about how marriage a lot of times is seen as something that a woman, because she wants the pretty dress and she and this and all of that stuff is taught. You are not born wanting a pretty dress. You know what I mean? Like a sight unseen, right? No, that's culture telling you this is how your value is tied. This is how we're going to judge you. These are the things you're supposed to want. And then as a result, we act on those. But I think, like I say, that's happening less and less. Like for me personally, my husband wanted to have a wedding more than I did, because I didn't want to do all the background work and all the effort, because it wasn't going to be for me, because like I literally didn't even care about it. So if I'm doing it, I'm only doing it for everybody else, and then I just didn't want to do that. There was no motivation for that for me. And so, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so you can't turn around and be like, well, you're not really a woman because you didn't want it. Like, no, that's not me. Like, I didn't want that. You know.
So so I'm sorry. So on the flip side, Ashley touched on it, like how women are raised from little girls to want these things, and men are not. So, so moving forward, do you start teaching your daughter to, to not want a marriage and to just focus on her and to date as many people as you want to, and don't worry about society? And do we try to cultivate our sons and tell them to be a little bit more open to settling down earlier? Like, how do we fix this? Or is it a fix, or is it just going to be a natural progression? What do y'all think?
I think it's important, and Jova, I want to hear more from you because you're the mom, right? Just, from my own experience being a single woman and being, a woman that was raised in a more traditional type family with very old school values, I believe that it's important for families and parents to teach the same things about marriage, or to teach the things that they teach their daughters about marriage to their sons as well. You have to prepare daughters and you have to prepare sons. Otherwise, you're going to have an imbalance. And we see that today. We see men complaining that women are not raised to be wives. But honestly, there are women who were raised to be wives, and we have the same complaint. We have the same complaint that, men, they want traditional wives, but they haven't been taught and trained on, and they haven't seen healthy examples on being a good husband. All they know is the woman is supposed to submit. That's what they know. So I think that it's problematic when you have, girls being taught one thing about marriage and boys being taught another. I'm always going to remain true to what my beliefs are. I am a Christian woman, so a lot of my beliefs are rooted in that, and it's such a big part of me that it's a part of my thinking and how I approach life. And I'm going to share these things with my children, boys and girls. But at the end of the day, I also want them to be aware of other cultures, of other religions, and be smart about, different perspectives. I think I'm very cognizant of other perspectives, and they have to make that decision on their own.
I actually asked that question wrong. I actually wanted to ask it like this. do we teach our sons to focus on marriage along with our daughters, or do we teach our daughters to focus on dating more to find their self along with our sons? Because I tell my son that date. And at one point in my life, I was thinking like, I'm not gonna tell my daughter to date and meet dudes and this and that, because I tied dating. What did I tie dating to? Sex, right?
Sex.
So I tied dating to sex. So there's no way I could tell my daughter to date as many people as she wanted to. But now that I'm getting older and a little bit wiser, I feel like I know what I'm going to start telling. I'm going to tell my daughter, she's 12 now. My oldest daughter's 12. I'm going to tell her, date who you want to date. If you don't have to settle down with anybody at a certain age, or you don't have to be pressured to be with anybody. If you date someone for 2 weeks and don't work, and after it don't work, after 2 days, if you want to date somebody else, go date that person too. It's nothing wrong with dating. So I think that's the approach that I would take. I would teach my daughter the same way I've been teaching my son now, instead of teaching my son to just, hey, you need to be married by this age, and because the older you get, you don't want to be dating all these women, stuff like that, because that's a lot of pressure for anybody. Because the older you get, you're going to be like, you're going to start thinking you're failing at something, right? Because if someone tells you need to be this age, or you need to have this, and you need to have that, and then you're getting older and you don't get it, in your mind, you're doing something wrong, when that's not the case at all, So